What's up, everybody? It's Jeremy here, and I'm ocean bound again. What's going on today? It's Sunday, and the wind has been pretty steady from the west. It's not an ideal direction, and in fact, it's like one of the worst directions at Pleasure Bay. It was up, it was like kind of low 20s, now it's like 17, 18. The temperature, it's kind of cold. I mean, my car says it's 48, but I want to say it's more like 44. So I keep saying I want to do this. This is probably the best chance I have. I want to ride the 1550 and the 1325 back to back. I'm probably going to try the 1550 first. I'll bring the 1325 to the beach. I'll ride the 1550, see how it feels, and then I want to try the 1325. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get rid of some of my stuff and purge some of my awesome Armstrong wing gear, because I just don't need one of everything. So my perfect lineup would be a 725 for the nuking days, the 925 for most days, and the 1325 for the light wind days. I just don't know if that 1325 can do what that 1550 can do. So we're gonna test that out today. And if that's true, if it does, if it can hack it, then it's worth selling my 1550. Wow, I can't believe I'm saying that. I already sold my 2400, then I sell my 1800, and now I'm like, I'm gonna sell my 1550? So we're here. Let's get our stuff together and head on the water. All right, just assessing the situation. When I got here, this guy had a little bit of south in it, but looking at the yacht clubs over there, you can tell they're basically in a shadow, so it's definitely west. There's a big wind line out there. It's crazy. It's like straight across, and then out there, there's all white caps and everything. So there's two wingers out. I just saw them up on foil, so it shouldn't be that difficult to have a good time today. And like I said, it's science, research. I wish that was a little better, but I think there's more out there. Yeah, like there's guys that they're up on foil right now. All right, let's hit the water. Wicked west winds. I gotta try his setup. Looks like a nice F1 wing. Foil. All right. Oh, it's nice to be on a board with float after yesterday. This makes it easy. All right. So I'm on a 6-meter strike here. These conditions, they kept changing, very gusty, and definitely some hot spots in the middle of Pleasure Bay. This west wind, it made it a challenge to compare these wings. Sometimes I was totally lit, and other times I was struggling to get up on foil. That gave me the opportunity to try the low end pump workout that we all love so much, to try to get up on foil. I figured I'd start using a standard setup of a 60 centimeter fuselage and a 232 chop tail. A shorter fuse would give me tighter turning, but it also, make it tweakier on the pitch. So I just wanted to go kind of middle of the road. For anyone that cares, I'm on a 75 liter FG board. My mast is 72 centimeters and it's set to about 8.5 in the mast strap. So the 1550 felt more like home, which is why I wanted to start with this one. The low end is good, both initially getting up, it gets up really quick, and also with the low end stall speed. I like the way it turns and maneuvers, or it rolls rail to rail really nicely, and I do think this foil it's pretty decent in that respect. It can maneuver around comfortably, it's predictable, and relatively snappy when I want it to be. Honestly, I wasn't out on this for more than 15 minutes. I just kept getting more anxious to try this 1325. This is me returning back to the beach. It was really light wind over there, so I had to pump back. All right, here I am, going back out on the 1325. As I mentioned, Now this is the test. The wind was finicky, but the 1325 did feel like it got up on foil better right off the bat. Going up on foil was relatively easy, you know, compared to the 1550 and definitely with the 1850. They pop you up pretty fast, and I feel like this has plenty of lift, but it's more gradual and it felt more controllable. I botched my first turn here. I'm still getting used to the 1325, but what I found when I would turn downwind and if the wind was light, I'd be going too fast and my balance would be thrown off because there wasn't any pull anymore in the wing for my body to lean into, and you know, it felt faster. So I had to train myself to do a tighter turn, and that was kind of exciting to push myself to turn tighter at higher speeds. It's not something that, you know, I practice a ton. High speed felt better on the 1325. It just felt like it had much more control, and never did I feel like it had too much lift. I don't have, you know, anything to track my speed. I kind of wish I did, although I would probably start obsessing over numbers, and I'm too competitive with myself to go down that road, but there are some situations where it'd be nice. But this thing is definitely fast. It just feels so fast for something that's that wide. High speed just felt better on that 1325. I felt like it had just a ton more control, and never did I feel like it had too much lift. Stability. I mean, what can I say? This thing is stable. I mean, what do you expect? It's so wide, but I'm super interested to try this wing on, say, 100 centimeter mast to see how stable it kind of feels while you're way high up there. Rail to rail, I mean, this thing is great for how wide it is. I've ridden this with the 50 centimeter fuse, and I know that it turns tighter, but this sesh just felt really great. And I think I'm probably gonna go with the 60 centimeter until I really feel like I need to turn tighter. The key is here is that it doesn't feel as wide as it is. And speaking of width, on the topic of breaching, I purposely breached the wingtips a handful of times, and I always think my GoPro's pointing in the right direction, but wasn't today. So the wingtips could breach and there was no drop. It's still scary to breach wingtips for me because, you know, I gotta train myself to embrace it. A foil like the 1550 would definitely cause some sort of droppage and probably cause me to fall. And you know, my last sesh that I was on the water, I was doing some small waves in the hump. My buddy said that he was watching me ride the top of the waves and my wingtips were kind of sticking out the face of the wave. And I didn't even feel or know that that was going on. So that was pretty sweet. It definitely goes upwind better. I'm guessing it's because it's got a wider grip and it's more efficient with less drag in the water, but it's certainly a great wing to go upwind and go upwind at speed at low wind speeds. Now, let's talk about jumping. The 1325 has noticeably better re-entry into the water. The 1550 V2 always makes me feel like I'm putting a ton of stress on my setup when I'm entering the water, and I know these things are made to take stress, but I can feel it, you know, and some jumps I'm better at re-entering into the water than others, but that 1325 just has a smooth re-entry, and I could really feel re-entry and then staying up on foil versus like hitting the top of the water and having to, you know, kind of get my stuff back up. Pumping is awesome. I tried pumping a few times and it's just a little different. I felt like you could do a 1, 2, 3 pump and a glide, like 1, 2, 3 glide. Whereas my other foils, I've always just kind of felt like I've always had to continually pump them. So that was different. Alright, so let me take a second, geek out here on some stats of these wings. I remember getting that 1550 V2 and thinking, God, this thing is wide and it's high aspect, and it was just such a difference between all of the other Armstrong foils that were out there. Now, the width or the wingspan of the 1550 is 938 millimeters, so that's like 94 centimeters, just shy of a meter. And the wingspan of the 1325 is 1,164 millimeters, which is 116.5 centimeters over a meter. Let me show you what happens when I match them up. That is the difference on the wingtips either side. It's pretty significant when you think about how I used to think how wide that 1550 was. Now, the aspect ratios. I got these numbers from the internet, so let's just call them estimates. But the aspect ratio of the 1550 is 5.67, and the aspect ratio of the 1325 is 10.2. That's a big difference. So when I try to keep these together and match up the trailing edges, this is the difference between the front and the back of these two wings. I mean, the 1550 is a little fatty compared to its sibling. How come these things never have batteries when I want them to? All right, and one more stat is the width if I take the 1550 and do the width right in the center, it's 19.5 millimeters. And then when I compare that to the 1325 in the center, it is 13.6 millimeters. I mean, where does that go? To me, that just says that the 1550 is a little bit more of a surfy wing. And so honestly, when it gets to the top of the water, it has less of a tendency to breach. So I really like that because, you know, it keeps a lot of accidental breachings from happening. But where the 1325 is going to be different is probably that release going out of the water is just going to be that much more seamless. And so it should really be better for jumping and re-entry too. So my final decision, I think we all know it at this point. I'm gonna be keeping the 1325. That doesn't mean that the 1550 is a bad wing. I just simply have too much gear and I need to get rid of it. And I feel like these are very similar and they hold the same spot in my quiver, so it's just not worth it for me to keep them both. So there's a lot of things I love and I'm gonna miss about the 1550, especially its kind of surfy feel. But I'm getting into these high aspect wings and I'm realizing that you can do a lot more than I kind of thought that you could on them. And they're a little snappier and more agile than I thought they were gonna be. I held off on the high aspect wings for a long time and I kind of figured that they were all hype. I wasn't a fan of the fact that my friends would say you have to get up to speed in order to get up on foil. I was just used to the kind of medium aspect wings popping me up really quick. But I really personally feel like you don't have to get this one to speed to get up on foil. It wants to be on foil. And the control is super awesome at any speed, both high and low. So probably the one thing that does scare me are these crazy wingtips and how much farther they stick out beyond any of my other wings out there. I'm sure it's gonna be fine, but I still think about it. All right, so that's all I got. If you made it this far, thanks so much for joining me on my geeky journey to find my foil zen. You know, please click subscribe if you want to see some more of my videos. Drop a comment if you've written the 1325 or what you think about the 1550. And with that, I hope you're all doing well out there. I'll see you guys on the flip and I wish you all an awesome day. Later.